Good morning, I'm Kenneth Moten.
And I'm Janae Norman. Here are the top 5 things to know this Wednesday. Number 1, Labor Secretary Alex Acosta is facing mounting calls to resign over his role in a plea deal that let multimillionaire Jeffrey Epstein off the hook.
Epstein now faces new sex trafficking charges. President Trump once socialized with Epstein, but now says he's not a fan of him. Number 2, the tropical threat brewing in the Gulf.
Several states along the Gulf Coast could be affected. That storm is packing heavy rain. More than 10 inches could fall later this week.
Officials in New Orleans are monitoring for any potential storm surge impacts on the Mississippi River.
On to number 3 now. Marriott is facing a lawsuit accused of deceiving customers on room prices and fees.
The Washington, D.C. Attorney General claims the hotel chain's advertised rates were often misleading because they did not include the fees that guests had to pay when booking rooms online.
Those charges are sometimes called destination fees and can be as high as $95. The company is not commenting.
We head to the major leagues for number 4. The commissioner of Major League Baseball is denying accusations that the league has been altering baseball so players can hit more home runs.
The commissioner insists the league has, quote, given no direction for the alteration of the ball. Home runs are being hit at a record pace this year. All-star pitcher Justin Verlander claimed earlier this week that the baseballs have been juiced.
It was the pitchers who dominated last night's All-Star game. 16 National League batters struck out against American League pitchers. The AL's winning run came on Joey Gallo's solo homer. They won 4-3.
And finally, number 5, one grocery store's controversial effort to get people to stop using plastic bags.
The store in Vancouver is trying to shame customers into bringing their own bags, so its plastic bags feature embarrassing fictional logos, including one for Colon Care store and a weird adult video store.
Under each logo is a reminder to bring a reusable bag when you shop. A lot more to talk about.
You know who won't be shamed, though, into having all those plastic bags?
Who?
Those grandparents who roll them up, put them under the sink.
Guilty.
It's Morning America.
So later this morning, the U.S. women's national soccer team will be honored with a ticker tape parade here in New York City. So our question of the day, do you know what was the first ticker tape parade here in New York?
Oh, that's a good one.
Do you know?
Do you know who it was
Tweet
for?
us, comment.
What year? Let us know in the comment section. Tweet
Don't
us,
Google.
ABC News Live. Don't Google. Don't Google.
Okay, and we'll have the answer for you a little bit later. Now to the growing political fallout from the arrest of financial mogul Jeffrey Epstein on sex trafficking charges.
Labor Secretary Alex Acosta is facing new calls to resign over his role in a 2008 plea deal that allowed Epstein to avoid federal prosecution for allegedly molesting teen girls.
President Trump is expressing sympathy and praise for Acosta, but he's now distancing himself from Epstein, a man he once called a terrific guy. ABC's Trevor Ault is in Washington with the new details. Trevor, good morning.
Good morning, Janae and Kenneth. Yeah, so the source of this controversy goes back 11 years ago. Jeffrey Epstein struck a deal to serve less than 2 years in jail and avoid a possible life sentence in an investigation involving 40 teenage girls. And that deal was orchestrated by Secretary of Labor Alex Acosta, now a prominent member of the Trump administration.
In the face of harsh criticism against Labor Secretary Alexander Acosta, President Trump standing by his secretary for now.
You're talking about a long time ago. And again, it was a decision made, I think, not by him, but by a lot of people.
Top Democrats and multiple presidential candidates calling for Acosta to resign in the wake of the indictment of disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein, charged with sex trafficking girls as young as 14. Some of the new allegations also part of an old investigation into Epstein from more than a decade ago, where Acosta served as the prosecutor in South Florida. Epstein struck a deal with Acosta, registering as a sex offender and serving just 13 months in county jail. One of Epstein's alleged victims saying she was kept in the dark as the deal was reached.
They were already signing the secret plea agreement with him, you know, and keeping me out of the loop.
Secretary Acosta responding to critics, tweeting, "The crimes committed by Epstein are horrific, and I am pleased that New York prosecutors are moving forward with a case based on new evidence." But a federal judge has determined Acosta and his prosecutors broke the law by not informing the victims about the terms of the prior deal.
I am calling on Secretary Acosta to resign.
President Trump acknowledges he knew Epstein, but the Trump organization saying Epstein was banned from Mar-a-Lago years ago.
I had a falling out with him a long time ago. I don't think I've spoken to him for 15 years. I wasn't a fan.
Now, President Trump said that the White House is looking into Secretary Acosta's role in how he prosecuted Epstein, but he also said under Secretary Acosta, the economy has done very well. Janae, Kenneth?
All right, Trevor Alt there in Washington. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Now moving on, a retired Marine fighter pilot is challenging Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell for the seat he's held for 35 years. Amy McGrath narrowly lost a House race to an incumbent Republican last year. Now she's hoping to become the first Kentucky Democrat elected to the Senate since 1992. McGrath, who's 44, says McConnell has turned Washington into something we all despise. She's facing an uphill battle in the state where President Trump remains extremely popular.
And speaking of those 2020 elections, ABC News will host this year's third Democratic presidential primary debate. It'll take place in Houston over 2 nights, September 12th and 13th. To qualify for the debate, candidates will have to meet polling and fundraising thresholds set by the Democratic National Committee. Details on the debate's format will be announced at a later date. Now to the future of the Affordable Care Act, in doubt once again and now in the hands of a federal appeals court.
The judges heard arguments in a lawsuit seeking to invalidate Obamacare. Their ruling could eliminate health coverage for tens of millions of Americans, including those with pre-existing conditions. ABC's Mona Kosar-Abdi has more.
Red and blue states taking their battle over the future of Obamacare back to federal court.
Over half of the country under the age of 65 is holding their breath, waiting for a decision of the Fifth Circuit.
The fate of the health care law is now in front of 3 U.S. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals judges in New Orleans. A coalition of Democratic-led states backed by the House of Representatives are challenging a lower court's ruling to strike the entire law down. At the center of the debate is the Affordable Care Act's individual mandate that requires all Americans to purchase health insurance or pay a penalty. A Texas judge deemed the mandate unconstitutional. If upheld, tens of millions of Americans would lose their health care. Protections for people with pre-existing conditions would be eliminated, as would coverage for young adults who stayed on their parents' plans and greater access through the expansion of Medicaid. President Trump has vowed to replace Obamacare with a less expensive plan. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says he's not in support of repealing the law, but if struck down, the Senate would find a way to protect people with pre-existing conditions.
If that were under any of these scenarios to go away, we would act quickly on a bipartisan basis to restore it.
Ahead of the hearing, Democratic lawmakers held a press conference on the Senate steps, holding pictures of Americans they say rely on the Affordable Care Act.
Every family in America is one phone call, one diagnosis, one accident away for being slaves to pre-existing conditions.
Regardless of the decision, both sides expect an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. As for President Trump's health care plan, he says it will be unveiled sometime this summer. Janae? Kenneth?
Thank you, Mona. Delta Airlines is trying to figure out why an engine failed during a flight from Atlanta to Baltimore. This is what passengers saw out of the window, a piece of the engine still bouncing around inside. The captain told everyone they had lost an engine. Flight attendants started preparing passengers for an emergency landing, even telling them to loosen their collars and take off their glasses.
After we heard the boom, we just saw all this smoke come up into the cabin, and that's when we really started freaking out.
I just texted my mom, I love you. I texted my dad, I love you.
The plane was diverted to Raleigh-Durham and landed safely. The engine will now be taken to Atlanta for the investigation.
Well, a new plan to offer free college tuition this morning. The University of Texas says it will offer full scholarships to some students from low-income households. The school is set up an endowment that will fund scholarships for in-state students from families that earn $65,000 or less a year. About 20% of students are expected to automatically get the scholarships beginning next fall.
An alert for dog owners this morning. The FDA is spreading the word about a sugar substitute that can be deadly for dogs. It's called xylitol. It can be found in certain breath mints, gum, peanut butter, baked goods, and chewable vitamins. Dog owners are being advised to check the label on any food product you share with your pet and keep items like toothpaste out of reach. A dog that ingests xylitol could die within 1 hour.
Now to the growing calls for a hate crime investigation in Arizona. Police say a white man killed a black teenager because he felt threatened by his rap music. The killing has sparked outrage, even getting the attention of a presidential candidate.
He was his grandma. He was really a God's kid.
This morning, a family is grieving the loss of a 17-year-old in Arizona.
He was out there living his life, going to work, going to school, making sure he was getting everything taken care of. He didn't have just one job. He had two jobs and then was trying to get a third job.
Police say Elijah Almin was at a convenience store soda machine in Peoria when Michael Adams walked up behind him and stabbed him to death. According to court records, Adams told investigators he heard Elijah listening to rap music in the parking lot, saying the music made him feel unsafe and he needed to protect himself and the community from the victim.
Supposedly what he said is that his music reminds him of other people who had attacked him.
This morning, civil rights groups are calling for hate crime charges against Adams, with more than 100,000 tweets containing the hashtag Justice for Elijah, including one from presidential candidate Cory Booker writing, R.I.P. Elijah.
My name is Michael Paul Adams.
Records show Adams was released from prison just 2 days before the murder after serving a 13-month sentence for aggravated assault. His lawyer says the Arizona Department of Corrections should have given Adams access to mental health services after his release.
This is a disabled person, and he's been released into the world and left to fend for himself. And 2 days later, this is where we are.
In response, the Department of Corrections says Adams was given information about where to find help for mental illnesses, but the department says it had no legal authority over him after he was released. As for Elijah's family, they say mental illness is no excuse. They say hate motivated the murder.
So the fact that someone is trying to claim that that's the reason why my brother's life was taken, it's just an excuse. And it doesn't help. It doesn't lend any type of consolement, like it doesn't help at all.
There is no hate crime statute in Arizona, but a judge can impose a tougher sentence if it's determined that a hate crime was committed.
Finally, Serena Williams is now 2 wins away from another title after winning her latest match at Wimbledon. Her semi-final match is scheduled for tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. And baby Olympia is there too, even keeping mom company while working out.
Adorable. Coming up, Queen Elizabeth gets her hands dirty.
We'll go across the pond to check in on the royal family, and we'll tell you why the Queen of England said, "Hold my purse."
Welcome back. This morning, we're remembering Ross Perot, the billionaire businessman and 2-time presidential candidate, died of leukemia at the age of 89.
He's being remembered for his larger-than-life Texas personality.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ross Perot.
He was the self-made billionaire from Texarkana. Ross Perot, the eccentric presidential candidate who promised voters a break from politics as usual.
Now, just for the record, I don't have any spin doctors. I don't have any speech writers. Probably shows.
At 5'6", small in stature, but larger than life.
I was Texas born, Texas bred, and Texarkana raised, and when I die, I'll be Texas dead.
Having made his fortune in the computer business, Perot spent $65 million of his own money running for president in 1992. His quips were a hallmark of the campaign.
Dollars gone through the floor. Now, whose fault is that? Not the Democrats, not the Republicans. Somewhere out there's an extraterrestrial that's doing this to us, I guess.
Perot won 19% of the vote that year as an independent. Many Republicans blame him for George H.W. Bush's loss to Bill Clinton.
And you're going to hear a giant sucking sound of jobs being pulled out of this country.
His homespun style was a ready-made parody.
You don't have to be a PhD at Harvard to know that our kids are going to inherit a $4 trillion deficit. And that's just a crime, see. Now, if I'm president...
Perot opposed NAFTA from the start. He championed American workers and fought hard to help military veterans. Senator Bernie Sanders paid tribute to Perot on Twitter, posting this picture of a sword Perot gave him for his work on a veterans bill.
We want to close on our theme song. Let's hit it, Ed.
We're crazy.
And many will say that Ross Perot was ahead of his time when he ran for president.
And certainly had a big personality.
Well, police in India have released new video believed to be the last footage taken of a group of mountain climbers in the Himalayas before they were found dead after an exhaustive search. Let's go across the pond to Jennifer Eccleston in the London Bureau for more. Good morning, Jennifer.
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, that clip shows the climbers, including 2 Americans, roped together and slowly making their way up a peak in sunny weather. They were attempting to climb India's second highest peak, Nanda Devi, when contact was lost. They went missing in a ridge between 2 glaciers at an altitude of nearly 18,000 feet in May. News reports say the camera with the video was a GoPro, and it was found buried in the snow near the area where the bodies were eventually recovered in June. Officials there say this video will help them analyze what went wrong with the mission, but it's believed that the mountain was hit by a series of avalanches.
And Jennifer, back there in the UK, the race to replace Prime Minister Theresa May is now heating up, with the final 2 candidates facing off in a debate. And the big question, what are their plans to resolve the ongoing Brexit problem?
Yeah, and the ongoing President Trump problem. The 2 rival candidates hoping to be Britain's next prime minister, as you said, they faced off in a feisty TV debate last night. Boris Johnson and Jeremy Hunt clashed over Brexit, as you would expect, and that's the UK's divorce from Europe, the economy also, as you would expect, and how to deal with President Donald Trump amid these leaked memos. Hunt, who is also Foreign Secretary, which is Britain's top diplomat, said if he were the next prime minister, he'd stand by their man in D.C., and that man being the UK ambassador to the U.S., the one who raised the ire of President Trump over unflattering comments about his administration. Now, Boris Johnson, the former mayor of London and also a former Foreign Secretary, well, he was less steadfast about loyalty to the ambassador. Instead, he said he has a good relationship with the White House.
And Jennifer, on to the royals and the head royal, Queen Elizabeth, out getting her hands dirty.
Yep. She's showing the world she's still the hardest working member of the royal family. Queen Elizabeth happily planting a tree during a royal event outside of London. And when asked if she required a little assistance, the 93-year-old, smiling as she hands over her purse, replies, "No, I'm still perfectly capable of planting a tree." Wearing a bright pink suit and a hat, she then confidently held the shovel, placing dirt onto the sapling. Now, also on the royal stage today, Prince Harry and Prince William are spending the day, or part of the day, on their polo horses. It will be the brothers' first joint event this year after last weekend's baptism of baby Archie. It's a polo charity tournament, and it's not clear if the pair will be on the same team or opposing teams, raising the possibility there of a royal rivalry.
Ooh, that'll be interesting to see, but probably won't be as good as seeing the Queen digging in the dirt.
No, not at all.
That was too good.
Really good. All right, Jennifer, thank you so much. We appreciate it, my friend. Let's go over to our friend Will Gans to check our notifications, see what's trending on social media. Good morning, Will.
Ding, ding. Yeah, that's right. Let's start with the dramatic end of a race. This runner finishes first. He's so excited until he realizes he still has an entire lap to go.
No.
Never party too early, I think, is the moral of that story.
Definitely the moral of that story. And I think he finished in 10th place.
10th?
Yeah, 10th place.
Ouch. I mean, honestly, he'd still probably finish ahead of me. He could have thrown a whole party, taken a nap, so whatever, at least he was there. But now let's switch over to a gender reveal that's really over the top. One couple just wanted to celebrate in style, and congratulations, you can see there, they're having a boy.
All that blue.
Yes, but watch as the burnout burns maybe a little too hot.
And if that's dad in there, he just keeps going. Still, he's maybe. Oh,
yeah.
Oh.
Catches fire. Luckily, they got the driver out and posted this as a warning not to try this particular gender reveal at home.
I said earlier he's either having a boy or a dragon that shoots fire or something.
Yeah, maybe Khaleesi was inside of that.
Yeah, maybe.
Is this the Game of Thrones spinoff that we've been waiting for?
Obviously.
All right, well, next up, forget windmills and waterfalls. This cat is the most difficult obstacle to get past if you're playing putt-putt golf. Watch it keep the ball out of the hole there. It's incredibly good defense.
Oh, whoa, look at that. He's like, I just want to play with these golf balls.
I mean, honestly, it makes golf a lot more enjoyable to watch. No offense to any golf fans out there, but this is a little more lively than we're used to seeing, you know, a putting green.
I think they call that a cat block.
I'm with you there. All right, and finally, let's move on to a weird weather event. across the pond in the UK, which has grass seemingly coming out of the sky. It's raining grass?
It's raining grass?
It's all because it's so dry over there right now that the grass is getting swept up. And yeah, it looks like it's raining grass.
I thought it was raining grass like in Colorado or other places where recreational
No,
marijuana
that's a different kind of grass. I'm no meteorologist, but I think that's a different kind of grass.
I think you're right, my friend. All right, well, hopefully it'll cool down over there soon so it will stop raining grass and actually rain maybe real rain.
Yeah.
All right, well, Gans, thank you so much for helping us go through those notifications.
Thanks, guys.
Well, coming up, we're getting ready to celebrate the World Cup champs. Will's going to be back because New York is throwing a ticker tape parade for Team USA this morning, and we're so ready. More after this.
Here's what to watch out for today. President Trump is set to give a speech and sign an executive order aimed at revamping care for kidney disease so that more people whose kidneys fail have a chance at early transplants and home dialysis. Fed Chair Jerome Powell will present the monetary policy report to Congress and testify on the state of the economy before the House Committee on Financial Services. Amid speculation, the Fed will cut interest rates later this month for the first time in a decade.
NASA will present its plans for the future of the International Space Station in a House Space and Aeronautics Subcommittee hearing. NASA could unveil details on allowing private citizens to visit the ISS as soon as 2020 and plans to open the space station for commercial business. And the World Cup champs hit the streets of New York for a ticker tape parade celebrating the U.S. women's soccer team. You can watch that right here on ABC News Live.
Plus, don't forget to tune in to The Debrief for an update on all our top stories and The Briefing Room for a breakdown of the latest headlines in politics. Well, the final touches are being put in place for that victory parade we were just telling you about for Team USA this morning.
That U.S. women's national soccer team will be honored along one of America's most storied parade routes. And joining us now is our own Will Gans. Good morning, Will.
I didn't bring my ticker tape. I forgot. Yeah, but there have been more than 200 ticker tape parades in New York City's Canyon of Heroes. Folks like Pope John Paul II and the Kennedys have been honored. The plaques are in the sidewalk there downtown, a reminder of those huge parties in the streets. But this morning, it's all about Team USA.
Team USA receiving the hero's welcome back here in the States. The four-time world champs hitting Times Square to celebrate their historic win on GMA.
That's it. U.S. wins their fourth World Cup.
Back-to-back FIFA World Cup champions.
The World Cup party can officially start now.
But is team captain Megan Rapinoe cool with being called a dynasty?
Yeah, I think it suits us, right? I mean, if the shoe fits, you got to put it on. So, yeah, this team, I think, fits well into that word.
One word that Rose Lavelle, who scored that game winner in the final, won't use: dream.
I think all of us, you grow up and it's kind of something you've always envisioned yourself doing. So I never liked to call it a dream because it was something that I really felt was going to be a reality someday.
That's when you made that dream a reality.
Yeah. Wow. Those cheers and even these iced lattes the girls have been craving during their time in Europe, nothing like the party they'll find in the streets of NYC this morning. A ticker tape parade set to honor the U.S. women's national team, joining a long-standing New York tradition dating back to 1886, when a spontaneous celebration broke out after the dedication of the Statue of Liberty. Charles Lindbergh in 1927 after his transatlantic flight, astronaut John Glenn in '62, and so many other sports legends, world leaders, and countless others have been honored with a ticker tape parade in New York City's famed Canyon of Heroes. Ticker tape refers to the old slips of paper used to transmit stock prices via telegraph back in the day. Nowadays, people throwing confetti from residential buildings and businesses along the parade route. The last ticker tape parade in NYC, these same champions following their 2015 World Cup win. The U.S. women's national team also gifted keys to the city, but breaking down doors and shattering glass ceilings has never really been an issue for these champions. With this morning's ticker tape parade, Team USA will be the first women's athletic team ever to be honored with back-to-back ticker tape parades here, breaking yet another record, but this time it's off the field.
They deserve it all. You were down there earlier this morning What's it like as you see all those plates on the sidewalk there? That
I mean, it's amazing. It's history dating all the way back to 1886. But the thing that I was even more impressed by are the storefronts down there. You know, it'll be like a deli or, you know, a shoe store, and they've got the flags. They're writing in the windows. Everybody is ready for this parade.
So that's our answer to the question of the day.
Yep.
Was the year was for the very first
1886.
Did I just give it away?
No.
Oh, no. We're supposed to now, yeah.
Unveil it right now.
I'm your lifeline. I'm your phone a friend that you didn't even know you phoned. Okay, good.
So the year was
1886.
And it was honoring
the dedication of the Statue of Liberty.
Ooh, so did you get it? Did you Google?
You got it right. Good. Thank you, Will. We appreciate it. Big
That's
celebration
it from us
later today, and we will see you tomorrow. Have a good one.